So I did a long, gosh, it's like almost 50-minute reading on trying to discover why this person walked away. I definitely got the answer, and though I wanted to make a shorter version that also tackles the same question and kind of see what comes up there, so that really either one can be watched. And I'm going to at least start with that. So let's see more information about why they walked away. So this is going to be much faster reading, I'm pretty sure. And we're going to look first at a tarot card. So we want to re-see, possibly from a new angle or whatever, maybe a way that can combine with the other perspective, and see why. We want to know why. So I'm pretty sure I already saw the card under here, but I really tried to not. I was shuffling and I blew out the candle by accident. So basically, I got a card to represent why they walked away, and yes, it's the Two of Swords. We do see representation of the Tree of Life, of the North Star, the Spear of Destiny. And this looks like a seasoned warrior to me. It seems like it has an essence of when you go aside to think of that which you need to do, right? To me, it's like he left the community, he left the people, and he had to go up to a high place to consider what to do, okay? Because the Two of Swords is about a pause, a potential stalemate, a need to connect the heart with the mind in order to usually make a decision. So there you have it. That would be why they walked away, okay? And we see them surrounded by blood red, you know, but they're also holding weapons. They have a spear, what looks like a sword, and a shield, or I guess it could be a drum. A couple things. This card has a Capricornian feel to me. I don't really know how that's relevant, but, you know, it's often where you go and you look out over everything, you know. So you're looking at the horizon, you're seeing the big picture, but you've had to go somewhere else. You know, you had to remove yourself from being involved in order to go up to this mountain to decide. So the card at the top of the deck was, because these are two-sided cards. Oh, we're going to see that other one. Okay. See, so either way, I would always be able to see what the next card is. And this is the King of Swords. And in this deck, he's very pensive to me. He's also sitting on what looks like gold, right? So representing treasure, that which needs protection. The light looks cool like that, huh? The King of Swords is no nonsense, no bullshit. But we see him protecting treasure. That's of note. We'll just leave it at that. And we do see Two of Wands here, which especially in this deck represents new beginning. You know, it's this initial moment where this owl has taken off in flight. And I want to check if that's what I thought it was. Nope, okay. It's not what I thought, but it's the High Priestess. She's silent, she's secretive. But she's secretive in a way that's true. This is about knowing, but this is knowing without words. Okay. So you'll have to take that information however you want to. I was just presenting it. So they walked away because they had to make a decision. They had to face a reality in the way that they felt it should be handled. And it's interesting, they did have to find themselves in a sense then. In a sense then, you know. You know, did the situation happen on purpose? So, or did it have anything to even do with them to begin with? Because we do see them by the Tree of Life. Was it prepared so that could happen on purpose? I mean, because we know, just like with the caterpillar, it has to go inside, create this cocoon and disappear. until it's ready to come back. That's one perspective. So we get the King of Diamonds and the Nine of Swords. So on the one hand, well, we won't have to do it like that. Listen, there was some man involved, right? Okay? And this either represents the man or it can represent the other person. And we have Nine of Swords, which we know is mental torment and anguish. And it's very lonely. It's usually the card of nightmares, though I think nightmares are better than what this card represents. This is, you know, a kind of energy where you can sink into insanity, which can be good, though, because, you know, eventually you just learn to laugh, right? Like the Joker went through this kind of energy, you know, but then, you know, he came out as this wild, crazy character, and nobody could fuck with that. Now, I'm not saying the king has that kind of energy, but look how this person is like looking out at the king and feeling all of this pain and anguish about the situation. So, to me, it's like someone didn't like how things went, and then there's all this silence, right? But it looks like the eyes stayed on the focus because the spear is pointing right at the North Star. And those are about things that matter and truth. But it certainly is showing that it would have been hard to know what to do because of all of this pain. I mean, and this is mental anguish that ends up being something you can see in the physical, you know. Depending on if you can figure it out. Like for me, when I'm feeling this, well, it won't matter because I stay on the carousel, so to speak. You know, like as long as you're bettering yourself and you're replenishing your own waters, then this can't bring you down but so bad. And like I was taught, as weak as you get, you know, eventually you spring forth in a new kind of way. So let's get a few more cards of information. I find it interesting that right before I did this reading, when I was shuffling, the flame went out, right? Which, that's what I want to say as well. There was a fire, right? There was an initiation. Something was happening, and bam, it left, you know? And it was empty, and it was gone. Where's the fucking fire, right? And it shows that not only was that person considering it, but someone else was as well, you know. And that doesn't mean there's necessarily 3 people. But it's like all of this silence, right? And this, you know, I've just noticed that in the Nine of Spades, there's a spade in between the balance, okay? And I don't really know how that's relevant, but in the imagery, it's interesting. So this thinking was highly in consideration of this King of Pentacles, like what the fuck is actually going on. And then we have in the background this King of Swords protecting this treasure. What looks like to me protecting this treasure probably has the sword of Excalibur, right? So to me, I'm seeing all these energies as having a good intention, okay, which is peculiar. So if all these intentions were good, it's like, well, why is no one talking? Why is everyone alone and doing their own thing? I mean, he's looking down. This one's looking at the king. The king's looking over there because of the way I have it laid out, you know? Especially when there's supposed to be vibes of one tree, one family with eyes on the prize. But, you know, that just reconfirms that something wasn't right. And you can see the other reading. So let's relight the flame and find out more information. So we have to keep in mind that it's interesting. Everyone is silent, right? And what do we see here? The High Priestess. And the High Priestess is that kind of knowing. It's like a sphinx. It's completely silent, and yet it contains all of the hidden knowledge. That it may not even be conscious of that knowledge. And so we're seeing this having wanted to burst forth with a new kind of energy. But there's this like silence, right? And having to know that which is not known, And this deep contemplation, right?
Yeah.
They're all thinking about what to do. So I would say it wasn't just the person who walked away. I would say this is showing that others also had to focus on protecting that which mattered, because something wasn't right, for sure. Okay, the Spanish playing card we get for this is, yep, Seven of Swords. This is the essence of someone not being what they seem. It's information you don't know, okay? But it's not in a high priestess way of like, she may not be conscious of everything she knows, and she knows it. You know, it's like the hidden language. It's like the hidden language of silence. This is that card that has issues to do with trust. You know, on the one hand, you can trust someone and they're going to stab you in the back. On the other hand, you could trust someone and it was exactly what you needed to do to be safe. Sometimes someone you should trust can appear as an enemy in order to save you. Someone can also appear to be your friend and they're going to stab you in the back. So this card has to do with that, elements of potential betrayal and trust. And because it's next to the Nine of Swords, something was definitely off and something was very wrong. And here we have a Jack of Diamonds, so we're getting like a page or a potential Knight of Earth, which represents usually a young man. Ten of Wands. Ten of Wands is about this heaviness, right? Like you're carrying too much. You know, and my brother said this, like, you got to cut all that bullshit away, right? And so I think the reason they walked away is because them, and not only them, according to this reading, a bunch of shit had to be dropped. That does not sound right, does it? A bunch of shit had to be cut away. You cannot carry all of this. You know, you have to pick and choose, okay? But this is what it is right here. This guy, this dude, is probably not what they seem, because they're right next to the Seven of Swords, okay? And then surrounding that energy, which is already suspicious, right? Nine of Swords, okay? Causing a lot of mental anguish. That's what I think probably this person is doing. We have this heaviness with them too, which it arouses in me this feeling of like wanting to call in for help, right? But we're not seeing really any help. So we see this king, and we see, and these are of the same suit, right? But here, this card is letting us know that something is not what it seems.